All right. We're live. That happened really quickly. Well, welcome you guys. We are streaming this into 3 different places, and we are also both in the same house. So hopefully there won't be weird audio issues because of that. But our names are Jody and Bobby Barber, and we are co-founders of Barber Coaching, which is our business. And we're going to share a little bit more about that today. But we realized we had never, ever gone live and shared our story. And I know that we've shared our story with many of you individually that we're connected to. We both post about different aspects of our businesses. But we have kind of an interesting business where we both do things individually, but we also do something together, and everything is under the same umbrella. But we'll get to that in a second. We basically wanted to start off just by sharing a little bit of our story, because as you can imagine, we get questions from people like, what made you interested in pivoting into full-time entrepreneurship with 3 young children in your 40s after almost 20 years in ministry, which is quite honestly all we've ever known as adults. And so we wanted to share our story, answer some of those questions. And our hope today is that our story might pique some curiosity for some of you if you have been curious about entrepreneurship, but have never really taken the step to explore what this could look like for you. You've just kind of assumed it's not an option for you. Trust that it is an option for you. But also, we want to just inspire what is possible when you really make a decision, go all in, and specifically in partnership with your spouse. And so that is really what has made this possible, is Bobby and I being on exactly the same page, and what we are building and what we are working towards building for the future is some pretty cool stuff. And we wanted to be able to share that with you guys. All right. So Bobby, I'm just going to hop in and share, because I became the entrepreneur first, right? So my story, which I've shared here thousands of times, back in 2016, we had ended an 11-year ministry with working for a college ministry, 11-year run working for a college ministry. We had just had our 3rd child in less than 4 years. And Bobby also was transitioning to being the lead pastor for a church that we were going to plant called Soma Northwest. And all that transition happened at the same time. So literally within about a 6-week period, we had a baby, we left our 11-year career, and we started a new job. Bobby started a new job. I ended my career and then didn't really have plans for what I was going to do next. And then we realized we couldn't pay our bills. So Bobby said to me, and actually, yeah, I give you credit for this, the introduction of entrepreneurship into our lives, because you said to me, can you find something to sell? Can't you do what some of these women are doing, sell something online? And I was like, yeah, I think I could do that. I've always loved things I'm passionate about, I talk about, and people buy stuff I tell them to buy. It's just a natural gift that I have. And so back in 2016, with a baby and 2 toddlers, I started my first network marketing business and was pretty successful with it. Definitely met our needs. I had a minimum amount I needed to make, was able to do that very easily and surpass that. And that was the first time I realized, oh, this is the thing that people do, is they leverage the online space to sell products and services. And so at that time, I didn't have any plans of developing a business of my own, or certainly not something that Bobby and I would do together. But I had kind of tasted and seen what was possible leveraging the online space. Bobby, what were some of your thoughts during that season when I started in entrepreneurship? I'm putting him on the spot. He didn't know I was going to ask this question.
Yeah, I think it was primarily feelings of skepticism. Can this really work? Is this something that is viable? Um, does the reward match the cost of buying into something, all the hard work to build it up? Is it actually going to be worth it for us in the end? So I would say, coming from a background where, like business was just not something I was exposed to, I had a lot of skepticism.
Yeah, but I brought that money in. You're always skeptical until you see the money come in. Yeah, that's great. So from there, I personally, my journey has taken a lot of twists and turns. Bobby's seen me do, even during that time. Yes, I was selling skincare products online. And then I decided to teach English online to kids in Asia. And that did that for a while I was selling my skincare. That wasn't entrepreneurial as much. And then was able to help launch a company into the network marketing space. And that experience right there was the thing that actually opened my eyes to legit opening, like using the online space to create a business from the ground up. Had no idea what that took, had no idea all the factors that were involved, but got to see that. I was literally one of the founding members of that company. And that was a really, really, really incredible experience. And so during that time, I started hiring and investing in some coaches and mentors because I started to take my entrepreneurship a lot more seriously. And so Bobby was watching me, meet with these coaches, meet with these mentors, start to develop ideas about possible businesses that I could do down the road that I would own, that weren't owned by someone else. Okay, so Bobby, do you want to go ahead and share, like, when did you start to think that maybe entrepreneurship was for you, and specifically coaching? What was your thought process during that season?
Yeah, well, I'll start where you started. When I first considered what it would take to plant or found a new church community, part of that process for me was being able to embrace the fact that I could do this. I think I had a lot of negative mindsets around my own abilities and my own effectiveness when it came to starting something and building something from the ground up. And so I had to do a lot of work at that point to really begin to see myself in a new light, and really embrace who I was, that I really enjoy seeing opportunities and creating ways to step into opportunities. Or maybe another way of putting that is seeing a problem or a deficit and coming up with a solution for that, or a way to meet a specific need. And so that all of those things played a huge role in the founding of our church community, and beginning to see what it would take to start with, a handful of people meeting in a very organic way, and to begin putting some structures and some organization. An analogy that we used a lot at that stage was building a trellis so that organic vine could grow and could flourish. So those were really the seeds of me beginning to see myself as an entrepreneur, as somebody who had an entrepreneurial drive. Now, I had what I didn't realize, and the dots that I didn't connect, is that I had been doing this for years and years and years. I had always, not in a business sense, but I'd always been starting things. I'd always been gathering people, meeting new people, pulling people into new things, trying different strategies. And so all of those components were there, but it was really until I formally said, hey, my name is on the legal documents here. I am getting paid to do these specific things, to start something and then set and build a foundation for it to grow, that all of that started clicking in. So it was really around that same time that you began your entrepreneurial journey in a formal way, that I started to begin mine as well.
Yeah. Yeah. What people don't realize is, and this is for any of you who have had any ministry background at all, specific to church planting or college ministry. So many call it, we're just connected to a lot of people in these worlds. You have literally developed the skills that you need to develop to start a business. You have all the skills. You probably don't realize it. No one's probably connected the dots for you, that as people who have literally transitioned from full-time vocational ministry into entrepreneurship, we're like, oh, we've been developing these skills for almost 20 years. That's my little plug. We're going to talk about that more at the end, because this is a lot of our heart and our vision as well. Okay, what about coaching? What drew you to coaching? And tell us a little bit more about your process of deciding to become an executive leadership coach. And what does that mean?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with just my own process, because as I've talked to more and more folks, even recently in the last couple of weeks, hearing their story about pivoting from one career to a different career, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of overlap. For me, there were two things. When it was to begin, I started to recognize that there was a restlessness, an internal restlessness that I was experiencing. It wasn't I hate my job. I can't stand what I'm doing. It wasn't that a restlessness of, I got to get out of this place. On the contrary, I was really enjoying a lot of what I was doing. I felt obviously very passionate that I was living into a calling and a particular way of serving this community that I was a part of as the lead pastor of this church. And so there weren't this wasn't a story of I hate everything, I hate my life. It was more of a, you know what, I'm beginning to sense that there's something else there. And so that was the first stage of this process for me, was that I had some people in my life that really encouraged me to not ignore that, to not push that aside or put it on the back burner, but to really begin to pay attention to that and listen to that and ask questions. And so that's what I started to do. Started journaling, started praying, started talking to different people in my life that were in different seasons of life and experienced different things, and just kind of sharing with them what was on my heart. I've talked to a lot of founders who experience this in their journey as well, of coming to the point where they have to ask themselves really hard questions about whether or not it is time to begin to exit and transition away from the thing that they've built and what they've invested their entire life in for however many years. So that was that first process, was to give myself permission to start having those conversations and start exploring that. The second part of it was then asking, well, what is it that I'm being drawn to. I don't want this again to be a story of running away from something, because that's not what was happening. What am I running to? And so as I began to explore that in my own heart, in my own mind, as I started to think, okay, what does it look like for me to take almost 20 years of spiritual direction, leadership development, organizational leadership? How do I leverage all of this experience, this skill set that I have, all of the things that I've learned into this new season of life? I recognize that one of the things that I've always been about, that I've always been passionate about, is empowering other people to do the things that they want to do. So whether you're in a spiritual context to live into the calling that you believe God has called you in, is calling you into, whether it's people that are doing work in the community, whether it's building a business, whether it's people like learning what it means to be married or to raise kids. All of my life has been centered around helping others understand who they are and how to really embrace that and do the things that they are passionate about doing. And so that's what really led me into coaching. I have been in leadership roles for 10 plus years at this stage. And so I have a heart for men and women who are leading, people who are the decision makers, the culture creators, the people investors, those folks who the buck stops with them, whether they're in nonprofit, for-profit ministry space, carrying the weight of leadership and doing it in a way where they're trying to build something to do well so that they can do good. So they're mission driven. So this parallels my own story. And so that's what really moved me into leadership coaching. I'll say this, I spend a lot of time distinguishing what coaching is. There are certain seasons and times in our lives and in our development and our growth where we need a mentor, somebody who is down the road, who has gone through what we've gone through, who will give us time to just say, here's what I learned, avoid the mistakes that I made and do the things that really were successful. And to have that mentoring relationship. There are other seasons of life where, because of whatever, however you want to term them, whether it's baggage that we carry, whether it's our own ghosts in our machine, the things about our past that are inhibiting us from living into our future, there are seasons where we need therapy. We need somebody who will help us really dig in and begin to work through some of those things that need to be healed, that need to be addressed, the areas in our lives that are holding us back from really moving forward. Coaching is different than that. Coaching is not mentorship. Coaching is not therapy. Coaching is creating a space where the way that I term it is, as a coach, you become a thought partner with someone else, meaning you create a space for that person to unlock insights and awarenesses that then will help them move into what they want to do, what they are doing, who they want to be, how they want to lead in a more full and flourishing way. And so that's what I've always been good at. I've always been good at asking thoughtful questions, providing space for other people to process, nudging them and directing them in different ways so that they can feel empowered to be the people that they want to be and do the things that they want to do. So that's what coaching is. And that's why I love to coach and why I want to spend my days coaching leaders to be authentic people, be confident people, and ultimately to be joyful people, meaning authentic, that their beliefs and their actions align, that they're confident, meaning that they're ambitious, they have a drive, there are things that they want to achieve, but they also hold that intention with, I haven't arrived yet. I need to grow. There are blind spots that I have that I need someone else to help me see. And then ultimately, as you are becoming more authentic, as you are leading in a more confident way, then you're going to experience joy, meaning that your life isn't dependent on the ebbs and flows of different seasons or situational happiness, that you exist with a sense of alignment and a sense of contentment, that you're doing what you want to do, you're the person that you want to be, and that you are being intentional in life in the ways that you want to be intentional.
Yes, so good. Yeah, and you guys know what I do. These are all on my social media platforms, so I won't go into what I do in my business, which is different than what Bobby does. But if you are a leader who has really resonated with this, reach out to Bobby, reach out to me, and obviously I can connect you with Bobby since we live together. And his coaching is brilliant. It's truly brilliant. And is something that you would benefit greatly from. He offers different ways you can work with him and be in his world with him as your coach. So definitely contact us in any way, shape, or form. The easiest would be to directly reach out through whichever social media platform you're watching this through. Okay, I'm going to kind of transition the conversation to what we're doing together, because this is kind of some long-term vision for us, and something that we have recently birthed together. I birthed our kids all by myself, but we've birthed this business together. So we have created a program called Founder Family. And I'm probably going to let Bobby explain it because he's much more concise than me. But I do want to share a little bit of my heart with this, because it's something I am very excited and passionate about, and you're going to hear us talk about more often. So what I do in my business, very briefly, I'm an Enneagram coach and sales strategist. I combine the Enneagram as a way to influence how women entrepreneurs set up their sales processes. I don't believe anyone should be selling the same way. There's no boxed selling strategy that works for everyone. It is completely unique to the individual. And if you can't adjust selling strategies to the unique individual, then you are leaving money on the table. Hands down, something I deeply believe in, and that is what I base my own individual business around. So Bobby and I, several months ago, were approached by a couple who was asking us, like, hey, do you guys, like, we're wanting to start a business together, and this is kind of what we're thinking. And, you know, you're both coaching and you're both kind of talking about things that we really resonate with. And these are dear people in our lives as well that we know really well. And they're like, would you ever consider coaching us together? And we're like, oh, well, sure. Like, we'll consider anything. We're up for nothing. Nothing is out of range for us right now. So we sat down, and that was really, we will forever give this couple credit for planting the seed, because through them coming, we had not even considered this. We had kind of talked about, like, maybe we could do something down the road together. I mean, we're building this business together, but we kind of have different approaches, and certain, I only work with women. What does that look like? So anyway, we started thinking and dreaming about how we could take both of our zones of genius, Bobby being brilliant in the leadership coaching, specifically around identifying and implementing core values. And I'm going to let him share a little bit more about, this program at large, but also my strategy mindset as it comes to actually building out sales processes within a business. And we're like, yeah, I mean, for couples, which we are seeing this happen more and more and more and more. Now that this is on our brains, we've been looking around and we're like, oh yeah, there's actually a lot of couples that either start business together, and or they like end up in business together. I've seen a lot of women in my past 7 years being in the entrepreneurial space who start businesses as kind of a side gig to help support their family. It turns into a pretty massive thing, and their husbands end up retiring from whatever career they were pursuing to come help their wives build this business. And so there's this element of marriage and business, and what does that look like? And from our perspective as a married couple who is building a business together, one of the things that we are very passionate about is coming alongside other married couples who are starting out in business and helping them really unify and be able to maximize the unique strengths of each individual, because knowing that their marriage is actually the best asset they have in their business. So I'm going to let Bobby share a little bit more about the actual program and some of his thoughts. And then I'm going to share briefly my personal dream and vision for where I see this program going at the end. Take it away.
Yeah, so a couple of things before I get into the details of the program, because I think I have found that there are elements of my own story, our own story in starting a business together, pivoting from one career to a different career in our 40s. But I've found that they connect with a lot of other folks. The first thing is that's like I mentioned in earlier, paying attention to the desires that we have. That's a huge part of it, and I think too often we feel like life is happening to us, that we are kind of imprisoned in this life that we've created, especially as you're our age, you have a family, you've established a life,
mortgage.
I'm sorry?
A mortgage.
Yeah, you've established yourself. It's giving yourself permission to dream again. Yeah. And to say, like, if I feel that there's a restlessness there, if I feel that there's a desire that's awakening within me, within us, let's explore that. Let's give ourselves permission to explore that. If you're feeling stuck, in a career, if you're feeling stuck in a season of life and you want something different, just having that mental shift of allowing yourself the permission to start exploring what could be, that's huge. That is the first step. But the second step is overcoming the fear of doing it. Yeah. And that's huge. I mean, like I was actually telling somebody this morning, like I wasn't making a ton of money in my professional ministry job. You don't go into professional ministry for the money, but it was still a paycheck, a regular paycheck. I could count on that being deposited into our bank account every couple of weeks. So even though we were feeling the financial constraints of that situation, there was still an amount of stability that's there. And so the thought of moving into the unknown felt hyper risky, like unbelievable risk associated with moving and pivoting at this stage of life from one career and starting something. But one key process in that was unbelievably transformative for me, and then I think by extension through me to Jody, as being somebody who is risk averse, I am the more risk averse person in our relationship dynamic. I had to redefine what risk is. Because for me, it was like, well, and people would say this, that's really risky. It's risky to do this right now. And on the surface, I was like, yes, it is. Yes, it's risky. It's crazy. To some people, it might sound crazy to start something brand new, to venture out into the unknown with a family. But once I started to understand, yes, if the only way that I define risk is financial, that's a big risk. But if that's the only way, if that's the primary thing that's causing fear, that's not a reason to ignore it. That's not a reason to say no. Because what I began to see for me, and again, everyone is different. Your situation is different. But for me, it felt more it felt riskier to ignore the restlessness, to ignore the desire to explore and to do something different. It felt riskier for me to stay in the position that I was in because I was putting other people at risk. I was putting my church community at risk because I didn't want to be half-hearted in my leadership there and in the role. I was putting my family at risk because if I'm constantly pushing down my desire, just emotionally, I'm not going to be present. I'm not going to be able to show up for my family. So I had to redefine what risk was to me. And when I was able to make that shift, when I was able to say, hey, it's actually riskier for me to not do this, that was a game changer. And so really the genesis of this founder family program is that we know that couples who are making these big decisions, they need help. They need people in their corner because it's not simply the skill set that you have to build a business. Though in our program, we're going to provide you with some basic business building skills and training. And Jody brings her zone of genius in here with the sales and the marketing, which is fantastic, which is honestly one of the number one reasons that businesses don't get off the ground is that a lot of us just fundamentally don't know how to sell. And so Jody enables and empowers our clients to sell and to feel confident in selling. So we're going to do that. We're going to give you skill set, but there's also the internal, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and the relational things that have to be present and be addressed in order to build a successful business. And so our mindset and our heart behind this program is that we want to help married couples. Not only we want to help them bring the elements that they have of a successful marriage, the things that make their marriage relationship work, and transition those into being business partners. Because that's one of the primary reasons that businesses fail is that the business partners drift apart. They become, they end up working at cross purposes. They become antagonistic to each other. Their visions change. And so what we want to do is help husbands and wives cultivate a shared vision, learn from each other's shared values, and lean and borrow from each other's skill sets. So that as they build a foundation for their business, they're not only building a foundation that will give them short-term business success, but will help strengthen their marriage in the process and allow them to to flourish in life and in business over the long haul.
Yes. See, Bobby does a way better job at explaining this stuff and casting vision for it. So that's why I let him share, because I tend to rabbit trail. Yeah. And one thing I want to add to that too, obviously, We have not come out of corporate America. Well, I did a small stint at Kroger in their HR department when I was like 23, but that doesn't count. We don't come out of corporate America. This is, our like the beginning stages in some senses of our own entrepreneurial journeys specifically together. But one of the things that we have recognized really quickly, like I mentioned before, was that what I think has helped us see traction and success fairly quickly in what we're doing has been our background in ministry. We understand people really well. We have been doing leadership development, creating systems for people to flourish, having to sell, even though it's not traditional sales, on multiple different fronts. I mean, we've literally been building businesses for almost 20 years. It's just been a different context. And, people don't like to talk about ministry being a business, but it is. One of the things that we are very, very passionate about is helping couples who are currently in ministry or who have previous experience in ministry, who have an itch to want to start something together. Maybe you don't know what you want to start, or maybe you kind of have an idea, or maybe like you both have like different passions, but you're not really sure how they fit together. But you have kind of wondered, what would it be to create and build something together that also supports our family? You are our people. This has literally been our story. And I have a deep, deep passion for helping couples who have the prior experience in ministry or are currently in ministry transition into entrepreneurship. And so if this is you, or if you have friends that you're like, we just want to have a conversation. We have no idea if it would be a great fit of working together, but we would love to have a conversation with you. At the very least, I think that we could offer encouragement because it is a very unique situation. It's a very, very, very unique situation, but one that we understand very well, very well from all different aspects. So I wanted to, we aren't only working with clients who have a ministry background, but that is something that is a very specific passion for myself and for Bobby, and something that we want to get louder about, I think, and being able to serve these particular types of clients in this way. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I do. I think what we offer is not only people, what we offer clients are not only folks who are, practitioners in a sense, but we are real life business owners. So we are in the mix. We are dealing with our own self-doubts. We are dealing with our own fears and our own negative mindset. We are trying to figure out what it looks like to have boundaries around our work and working hard, but also spending quality time together and with our kids and in our community. We are figuring out different strategies and how to market ourselves and what products to offer and trying different things. We are in the mix. And so, as I said, one of my desires and the outcomes for the leaders that I work with is that they would be authentic and confident. And that mix of like being confident and ambitious, but also having the humility to understand we haven't arrived. That's where Jody and I are right now. We are working hard to build our business, to support our family, to do the things that we want to do and to create the impact that we want to create. And so we are in the mix with you. We're just maybe a few steps ahead of you. And so I think that's a real advantage, is that we're not so far removed from the early stages. We are still in that. We are still building. We are still growing. We are still finding out that we know a lot less than we thought we did. And we are still ourselves investing in our own growth and seeking out others to pour into us and to help us in this journey. So, yeah. Jody, let's wrap this up by telling people, what are next steps for them? What can they expect if they reach out to us and say, hey, we're curious and we'd like to have a conversation?
Yeah. Well, you are on my social media profiles right now, but also you can follow Bobby, who I will be tagging. He puts some really good stuff out there. He's most active on LinkedIn. If you are interested in having this conversation specific to our founder family program, or if you know someone who is interested, I am actually, we should put a scheduling link. Well, I guess we didn't talk about this, did we? Should we put a scheduling link? Actually, how about this? Reach out to me. You can reach out to me by commenting wherever you're watching this. I will get that notification. You can send me a private message and tell me you're interested. And then we will coordinate a time to get on the phone with you or a Zoom call with you and your spouse. Just need about 30 minutes. And yeah, how's that sound? How's that for on the fly? That's the best way. Yeah, we're still working out some of our processes, but just reach out to me if you're interested in this, or if you have friends who are interested in this, you can give them my contact information, have them connect with me on social media, and we'll make that process super easy for them. Any final words?
No, look
All
forward
right.
to continuing on this journey.
Yes, we'll be back with more Barber television. We need to come up with a funny name. I won't tell you the ones we came up with last night. So anyway, all right. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk to you guys next time.